Now, I know that I'm a little late to the party on this one, and frankly, I was going to give it a miss until I realised that it ties quite nicely into the debate we've been having on mandatory digital ID and age verification. Today, we're going to be diving into the T-App data leak, a perfect storm of supposedly good intentions gone quite pear-shaped, turning a supposed safe haven for gossipy women into a full-blown privacy nightmare, as 72,000 images, including 13,000 used for verification, including driver's licenses, private messages, and addresses, hit the open web. This has become a shining example of just one aspect of why mandatory digital ID is as dangerous as it is ridiculous. It's a wake-up call on why handing over your ID to random apps is like playing Russian roulette with your privacy, and why we should not be forced to do so. So stick around as we discuss why companies and the government shoving digital ID and age checks down our throats mean this form of doxing is likely to become the norm in the future. For a bit of background, and for those of you that are unaware, the T-App was, and I say was because by the time this all shakes out, they'll likely have been sued into oblivion, was a platform for women that allegedly allowed users to anonymously share dating and relationship advice, conduct background checks, and post about men to warn others of potential red flags such as their criminal history, marital status, or sex offender status. For a $15 monthly subscription, users could rate men with green flags for positive traits or red flags for negative ones. T claimed to donate 10% of its profits to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, positioning itself as a tool for empowerment and safety, which honestly to me is great. It's noble. It's just, in my opinion, not what happened. The app purported to provide services including crowdsourced reports, a phone number lookup, reverse image search to allegedly combat catfishing, and premium features like the criminal record check or private investigator services. Users could also search for men by their names and leave feedback purporting to foster a community aimed at protecting one another from harm.
Men should be freaking out about this new app. It's called T, and it allows women to warn other women about men that are abusive, toxic, red flags. You can search them by name, by city, you can run background checks, and everything is anonymous. This is wild.
Think of it as that girls' group chat that most men either rightfully fear or pretend is a myth. But it's on steroids. It sounds good in concept, but can I just stop here and say that whilst I agree that safer dating environments is a positive for everyone, can you imagine if the shoe was on the other foot and this was a men's only app? It'd be torched as misogynistic faster than you can say cancel culture. In fact, I'm pretty sure that there was something similar to this at one point, but it got shut down pretty damn quick. The app's creator, Sean Cook, a 6-month coding bootcamp graduate who came from a music background, developed it after his mother was catfished and supposedly engaged to someone with a hidden criminal record. However, the app has been allegedly used for gossip and anonymous accusations without rebuttal options for those mentioned, as men cannot access or respond to any of the posts. The app's terms of service state that the content is for informational purposes only. Yeah, and people buy Playboy for the articles. What a crock of shit. With no warranty on accuracy, and it does not pre-screen or verify user statements, potentially leading to unsubstantiated claims that could constitute defamation. The problem is that although it may have started out with the best of intentions, it supposedly devolved quicker than a politician's promise into a toxic echo chamber where women could bitch about blokes endlessly, slinging mud like he's a creep or, watch out, he's violent, without a shred of proof or a chance for him to clap back.
The T-App is ruining men's lives right now. Now, this app is only for women. You have to prove that you're a woman before you get accepted into it. The way the T-App works is women will leave either green or red flags for men that they've dated. They can also leave Yelp sort of reviews on these men as well. Now, a big problem with this app is the men posted to the app are basically all public against their will, while the women on the app can just remain anonymous if they want to. Now, this has led to many men on the app having false reviews made about them. There are a lot of guys coming forward right now basically debunking what was said about them on the T-App, because people on the app are essentially just spreading defamation in a lot of cases, really due to the fact that they can remain anonymous and say whatever they want about any man that they want to.
And let's face it, there are some real dirtbags out there. But this goes both ways for chicks and blokes, and in my experience there's two sides to most stories, and the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. The app required strict verification to ensure that only women could join, mandating the submission of selfies and or government-issued photo ID like a driver's license, with a stated policy that selfies are deleted after 24 hours and IDs are not stored long-term, though data from users who joined before February 24 was retained in legacy storage. The ID requirements were not unlike the Giggle for Girls app that's seen the founder Sal Grover sued for gender discrimination. And given that that one's back in the news, I will be doing a video on that relatively soon, so keep an eye out. So where does all this lead? Well, apparently the app's technical foundation was shaky from the start, relying on Google's Firebase platform for storage without adequate security measures. Cook supposedly left his Firebase bucket, which I gather is a repository of all the ID photos, etc. He left it wide open, no passwords, no two-factor authentication, nothing, allowing pretty much anyone with basic knowledge to access very sensitive user data without any sort of authentication. In late July of 2025, after reaching #1 in the App Store, T suffered a catastrophic data breach when the initial leak exposed over 72,000 user-submitted images, including 13,000 selfies and ID photos used for verification, as well as 59,000 images from posts, comments, and direct messages. A second separate breach followed just 3 days later, revealing over 1.1 million private messages dating as far back as early 23, containing intimate discussions about topics like abortions, cheating partners, and personal experiences with abuse. These were chats that were so intimate they would make your grandmother blush. The messages reportedly often included identifying details such as social media profiles, phone numbers, and real-world identities, making it pretty easy for outsiders to link the data to individuals. The breaches were first discovered not by T themselves, but by anonymous 4chan users who reportedly exploited the vulnerability themselves, and I'm pretty sure you can see where this was going. On 4chan, users scanned the leaked IDs using vision models or similar tools to extract the addresses, creating interactive maps with pins linking to victims' homes and the unique identifiers of their images, effectively doxing thousands of women. Just in case for any of you that is a new terminology, doxing is the act of intentionally publishing someone's private or identifying information online, being their name, address, phone number, or other personal details without their consent, with the aim to cause harm, harassment, or humiliation. It's basically disclosing personal information maliciously.
All of our driver's license on the T app just got leaked, and that is extremely dangerous. I mean, thankfully for me, like, my license address is not like actually where I physically live, but like this needs to be known and shared for everybody's safety because the T app is getting out and everybody is finding out about it, and the men are mad. The men are mad, so please be careful.
This led to widespread circulation of the data across various forums, with some users on X and other platforms sharing or discussing the leaks, amplifying the exposure. I mean, imagine the chaos. Possibly violent exes, angry men who've been the subject of potential slander, or even possibly just random trolls being able to hunt down these women that were talking about them online. Some have said that it's poetic justice in a twisted way for the unchecked man-bashing, and that may be the case, but in my opinion, no one deserves to have their privacy shredded like that. And I'm not just talking about the women using the app, I'm also talking about the men that were lampooned from the purported privacy of their keyboard. The consequences for the breach were immediate and severe, turning an app meant for the protection of women into a source of vulnerability. Women who had trusted T with their personal information now faced risks of identity theft, harassment, stalking, and retaliation from the very men they'd been warned about, or from opportunistic cyber criminals. For obvious reasons, I won't be showing any of the details of any of the women, or the men for that matter, that were doxed by the app. But others have not been quite so kind. Some even went so far as to create a 1 versus 1 leaderboard where users have been able to vote on the appearance of the T app users. And it's pretty much as bad as you'd expect. In articles from sources like the New York Times and the Atlantic, the reporting was fairly one-sided. It was noted that the breach highlighted the inherent dangers in women looking out for each other online. And for instance, one of the articles, it was stated that the hack targeted the app for sharing information about nefarious men, serving as a reminder that the impulse to protect frequently comes at a personal cost. Reports from USA Today emphasised that despite the breach, T had helped domestic violence survivors by providing a space to share warnings, but that the leak undermined the mission with over 70,000 images exposed. Now again, as I said, I believe that the original intentions of this app may have been noble, but as with so many things, apparently it's very quickly turned toxic. So just quickly, there's two things that I want to point out with this. Firstly, at this point, I'm not really sure we should be referring to this as a hack or a breach. It wasn't sophisticated in any way. It was the equivalent of someone taking photocopies of people's driver's licenses and leaving them in a cardboard box on their front lawn. Once a passerby noticed what was in the box, it was already too late. The information was publicly available and not really secured in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's definitely a breach of trust by the app, I guess. And secondly, a lot of these articles are rabbiting on about the purpose of the app being a safe space for women. They do seem to be conveniently forgetting that, at least in part, there were a number of women giving the names, photos, and in some cases identifying information of men that they'd had bad experiences with, or that they just had grudges against, that could then be searched within the app. On platforms like Reddit and X, discussions erupted around the irony. An app promising anonymity had instead exposed users' most private details. Some users on 4chan celebrated the leak as karma for what they perceived to be the unchecked slander against men, while others warned about phishing attacks and further exploitation. T responded by disabling the direct messaging, engaging third-party cybersecurity experts, and implementing additional security measures. But let's face it, the damage was already done. The company admitted that the breaches occurred on legacy systems, but insisted that they were working around the clock to secure their data. In the aftermath, T has faced mounting legal challenges. From what I gather, at least 10 women have filed lawsuits against T for negligence, breach of implied contract, and privacy violations. There are at least 6 federal lawsuits, including 2 class actions, that have been filed in the Northern District of California. One lawsuit, brought by plaintiff Griselda Reyes, alleged negligence and breach of contract, claiming her submitted photo was accessed in the breach. She demanded an injunction for T to encrypt all of their data, purge any leaked private information, and provide monetary damages. A second lawsuit, filed by a Jane Doe who allegedly joined the app to warn people about an alleged sexual assailant, accused T of failing to uphold the promises of anonymity, safety, and data deletion, noting that the app had become the very threat it aimed to combat. In that suit, they've also named X and 4chan as defendants. Good luck with that. Claiming that they enabled the circulation of stolen data, weaponizing it against women. Legal experts in reports from Business Insider have highlighted the broader implications, including the potential violations of data protection laws like the California Privacy Rights Act and the irony of the safety app endangering its own users. For the men critiqued on the app, the leaks indirectly exposed potential defamation issues and possibly gave them ammo to make claims against the women using the app, as opposed to often allegedly included unverified accusations of abuse or misconduct, which could constitute defamation under US law if proven false, though the anonymous nature of the app could make accountability difficult. Double standards have very much been a point of contention in the online discussions. If a similar app allowed men to rate and criticize women anonymously, it would likely be decried as misogynistic. Yet the T app has been marketed as empowering. Legally, my understanding is that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act protects platforms from liability for user-generated content if it qualifies as opinion-based free speech, but it does not cover defamation for provably false claims or illegal doxing. So there may actually be avenues for further injured parties there, is my understanding. This incident has parallels to historic platforms like Lulu or Don'tDateHimGirl.com, which were shut down amid lawsuits over unverified claims. So that's the long and the short of the T app scandal. But I'm betting by now you're wondering, but Hayden, why do we care? This is an app from the USA that very clearly had no real protection for the ID documents that they were keeping. Well, you got to remember, from December 2025, we here in Australia will be forced to provide sufficient personal information to prove our age for a number of online activities, not just social media, but search engines amongst other things. And the big one is obviously the under 16 social media ban, which will cause everyone over the age of 16 to have to provide proof that they are over the age of 16 and able to log into things like Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Additionally, from December 25, age assurance requirements will apply to companies like Google and Microsoft and require users to be age checked in order to log into your emails and use other services like Gmail, Outlook, and even just to be able to use search engines like Google, Yahoo, and Bing. And honestly, if you don't believe me about that, there's a link in the description for the Internet Search Provider Online Safety Code, which details all the measures that search engine providers must comply with by December, including age assurance and ID collection, as well as compliance with the eSafety Commission issuing delist notices, which is basically a censorship order from the Australian government.
The Internet Search Engine Services Online Safety Code for Class 1A and 1B material is a textbook case of government overreach. The eSafety Commissar rejected the original code from the search industry, which was based on their knowledge of what was technically achievable. Instead, her office produced their own mandatory code with stronger provisions, which are seriously flawed. The code is designed to regulate the search industry to stop children accessing harmful material, including online pornography and material showing high-impact violence or self-harm. That's a worthy cause, yet with dangerous implications. To achieve this, every search engine must include robust age verification. In practice, this brings search engines and similar sites under the purview of the Identity Verification Services Act and the Social Media Minimum Age Bill. Legislation that was passed for social media and is now being extended to internet search without further reference to Parliament or any justification for doing so. Google or Bing search as well as sites like TinEye, stock photo sites, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble and bizarrely Google Maps and Apple Maps will now require proof of age for every user.
Don't get me wrong, there's some good things in there, like providing pop-up information if they detect searches about self-harm or eating disorders. But go and have a look for yourself. Now look, just quickly, if you've made it this far, I kind of feel like I've already earned the like on the video. It's more important these days than you subscribing, but hey, feel free to do both if you want, or even leave a comment if you're feeling bold. So anyway, back to the T breach. It sparked wider conversations about the dangers of apps collecting sensitive personal information, especially amid the global push for digital ID and mandatory age verification to access online services. I mean, governments are mandating age gates, mirroring T's own verification pitfalls, whilst forcing tech companies to be the one to gather and protect the information. It's just Exhibit A in a long list of reasons, and only a fraction of the picture as to why these digital ID laws are dangerous. From December 25, the new laws and regulations here in Oz are requiring companies to take reasonable steps to prevent account creation and verify ages. Enforcement of that is likely to involve anything from facial age estimation using face scans, photo ID matching, behavioural AI analysis, or third-party confirmation from banks.
Of course, if you're testing to see if someone's 13 or 14 or 15 or 16, you're also testing to see, by definition, if they're 16 plus. So if there's going to be age verification, everybody is going to have to go through an age verification process, won't they?
Yes.
So this isn't just about the privacy or collecting data about kids. This is literally everybody accessing social media. That's how it has to work, isn't it?
Yes.
Senator Shoebridge, you just used the term age verification. You may not have been in the room when we had a discussion about the distinction between age verification and age assurance. This is an age assurance trial.
This is, if you're going to have age assurance for kids 13, 14, 15 or 16, testing if they're that age, you're testing everyone's age, and you're doing it at that level of age assurance. And that has privacy and data protection implications for literally everybody accessing social media, doesn't it?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why we've commissioned consumer research to look at consumer willingness and particular aspects that are important to them.
Oh, fuck right off. And I mean, these companies are going to get fined $49.5 million for non-compliance. Honestly, at this point, I'm just expecting them to pull out of Australia altogether. We're already seeing some posts online, although I have yet to verify them myself, of certain sites refusing access to users when they've detected a VPN. I saw one earlier today where YouTube had detected a VPN and basically said that the user was unable to continue using the service until the VPN was turned off, under the guise of YouTube providing the best possible content. What a crock of shit. That's a massive red flag to me. Wonder if I can put something like that on the T app. Oh wait, no, it's long gone. Anyway, while protective, these measures are amassing vulnerable databases, ripe for breaches akin to T's, and foster nanny state intrusion, curtailing freedoms with heightened risks. Whilst touted as being under the guise of protecting children, critics, myself included, are arguing that it risks privacy breaches similar to what has happened with T, as platforms must collect and store verification data for all users, creating vast databases that are vulnerable to hacks. I mean, yes, in T's case, there was next to no security, but as I've mentioned previously, the Australian government's own information watchdog, the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner, reported that from July to December 2024, there were 595 data breaches reported in that 6-month period. 100 of those were breaches reported to have occurred against Australian government agencies. Just think about that. In the 6 months between July and December last year, there were 100 instances of government agencies here in Australia being hacked or otherwise having people's personal information leaked. There were 1,113 breaches reported across all industries overall in 2024, up from 893 in 2023. The point is that with some of our biggest companies, not to mention our own government, regularly getting hacked, why would anyone capitulate to the demands of the eSafety Commissioner and the Australian government to have to provide personal information just to be able to surf the web? That's insane to me, particularly where there are exemptions that apply to messaging, gaming, education, and health apps. They're only targeting specific areas of the internet. I'm not saying that I want them to blanketly target everything. I'm saying that they need to pull the fuck back to begin with. They have no right dictating the terms on which we can access information online. Ties to breaches like what happened with the T app are evident in the shared vulnerability. Collecting IDs and selfies for verification creates honeypots for hackers, as seen when T's data was doxed on 4chan, underscoring how allegedly well-intentioned safety measures can backfire, exposing users to greater harm in the era of mandatory digital verification. So now imagine when it's government-backed and there is next to no good intentions at all. From my point of view, the T fiasco just proves why we've got to fight these ID mandates. They're dangerous. And once the ID verification comes in, there will be multiple databases that hold your personal information that will be prime targets for criminals and the government alike. So what are your thoughts on trusting apps like this with your ID? Let me know below, and if it's got your blood boiling, hit that sub button for some more unfiltered takes. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers, legends.